Welcome back to High Spirits, Music and Harps. This is Book 1, Lesson 2. Let's review a little bit from last week. We'll pull the harp back to our shoulder, pull it in where we need it, turn it slightly so it's pushed over and you can actually see the strings. Do you remember that you're pointing your finger down? We're going to touch middle C with it, and we're going to do a whole hand flap every time we pull our finger in. Squeeze, release, relax. It's your new mantra, isn't it? Now I'm sure you've practiced up and down, 2 fingers and all. So let's review with the thumb as well. Place finger 2 on C. Let's put the thumb on E. Squeeze, release, relax the hand. Squeeze, release, relax the hand. I said relax every time, didn't I? And I can tell you I'm going to say it a lot during the journey of learning to play the Celtic harp. Let's try one of the small exercises that we did in Lesson 1. When we go through each exercise, don't even hesitate. Put me on pause and stop me right where you want to practice something, or if you want to repeat something. If I've gone too fast for you, slow me down. Step up again. Step up again. You might feel the harp is more stable if you put the other hand right about here and hold it to your shoulder. The thing you don't want to do is clutch the harp with your arm, either arm. With the right hand, you can gently touch the soundboard, making sure that as you go higher on the strings, your wrist comes up the edge of the soundboard. As you go down the strings, your wrist slides down as well. So it never gets stuck there, and it lifts off from time to time as well. But what you don't want to do, as I said, is clutch the harp and hold it to your body. If you need to pull it in, do it with the other hand. Let's switch hands. Left hand. Replace. Place them both at the same time. Squeeze, release, relax. Let's try our second exercise, which was with thirds. So a third, as you recall, is 3 notes. Skip the middle one. Just play the bottom one and the top one. And we're going to squeeze them together. Step up. Step up again. Are they both the same volume? If not, squeeze one or the other just a little more. Let's switch hands. Make sure you finish that whole hand flap and end up each time with your hand closed like this. The thumb's over, the fingers are into the palm. Let's say that's our review of Lesson 1. Now we're going to go to Lesson 2. We've had a bit of an experiment here. Our first lesson, we just kind of grabbed the harp and started playing because it was so exciting to hear how it could sound. Now, if we want a beautiful tone, we also need beautiful tuning. Because when you play your harp, not only are your ears getting tuned to that lovely music, but anyone who's in your home listening, or when you eventually take your harp out and play for others, tuning is supremely important. So let's talk about that for a moment before we go any further. This is the tuning part, and I've decided to use this smaller harp to show you how to tune your harp. First of all, you need a wrench. This wrench is going to connect with the tuning pins on the back. Every harp has its own wrench, so you really mustn't lose it anywhere or leave it behind at another house somewhere, because then you can't tune, and no one will be happy if you're playing out of tune, least of all you. So a wrench and a harp go together forever. So we're going to use a wrench, and we're going to use a little tuner. There are many kinds. There's little guys like this. There's small clip-on tuners that you can clip right to the pin. There's bigger ones like this. They're a little bit more expensive, but really, I mean, I've had this one for about 20 years now, and it's still going strong. But for today's purposes, I'll use the small, inexpensive tuner, and believe me, the inexpensive ones usually work just as well as the more expensive ones. If you are an adult, you can do this yourself. Or if you're, let's say, 10 or 12 years old and older, it will work. If you are the parent of a child who is learning to play the harp, please learn to tune the harp for them and keep it regularly tuned, because it'll make all the difference in your family. So I'm going to turn it on. This one takes 4 seconds to hold before it comes on. And now you'll see a little light comes on, and what you'll want to notice is in one corner, somewhere or other, there's a note that says 440. That's 440 hertz, and that's concert pitch, 440A. So that's what we tune to. If your harp slips off to another number, like 438, you're tuning everything off kilter, and it won't match with the other instruments. So let's put it back up to 440. Okay? Sometimes you'll find that your harp seems really kind of off, and you might have the previous time tuned it to the wrong number of hertz. So let's get that sorted out right away. The next thing I like to do, which means you don't have to do this if you have a quiet room, but if your room is noisier, there are other sounds, people are talking, the TV's on or something, or you're tuning with other harps in the room especially, you can plug in. So I have this pickup. This is just one of several kinds of pickups, and I clip it on to the back of the harp in one of the sound holes, and then I'll just plug it into my tuner before I start. Then I'm going to start on middle C. So I'll find that C that's in the middle of the harp and sounds this. I'm going to hold the wrench in my right hand. I'm looking down over the top of these pins so that I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm holding the tuner in my left hand, and I'll leave one finger free to pluck the strings. So I'm going to pluck this C and see what happens. And the green light comes on. That's what you want. Having a dial as well as a light really helps. Even if it's digital, it really helps you get accurate. So if this were a little bit flat, for example, I would just tune it up a little bit sharper and watch the dial come up and the green light come on. Now I'm going to do that for every single string on the harp. C is red. You keep going up alphabetically. What you need to watch is that you don't get a little sign beside the C that says C sharp or C flat. Make sure there's neither of those there, and then you add pitch 440. One last little note. If you're just starting with the harp, then the best thing that you can do, as I mentioned in lesson 1, is have a harp that has at least 3 levers per octave. In this case, we have every lever per octave, but you'll notice some of them are raised and the rest are down. So I'm tuning C natural, D natural, E natural, etc. The only string that makes it very helpful to change that is the B string. So what we'll do is just raise the lever up like this and then tune as usual, F, G, A, and this one will be B and C. Now, sometime in the future, when we come to another song that's not in the key of C, we may want to put this lever down. You'll notice B natural sounds like this, and B flat sounds like this. B natural, B flat. So we have options. That's all I'm saying for now. You know, there is one more thing. This happens sometimes. I'll be tuning my string, and I'm watching on my tuner, and I'm, for some reason, as I tune it, I'm turning and turning, and I don't hear anything changing. This is a danger sign, and I don't see anything changing, that I'm actually on the wrong pin, and I've got my wrench on the wrong pin. So I'm, seriously tuning up an E when I'm meant to be tuning a D. This will cause the E string eventually to break because it will just get too tight. So if you see nothing happening on your tuner and you hear no changes, then there's something wrong. So quickly take your wrench off and put it on the string you meant to put it on. That's what I want to add. Here we are back at the big harp again. The difference about this one is, yes, the B levers are up, but I also have 2 other levers per octave, which for now you're just going to ignore. It gives me the possibilities of playing in more keys. Now we'll go to the landmark notes page. This is middle C, and it sounds like this. Kind of easy range of the human voice to hum. So middle C is sitting on a little ledger line under the treble staff. High C is the red string above it. Let's play that one. And highest C is probably the highest one on your harp. Let's play them again. Get a look at the page and a look at the string and a look at your finger. All 3. Use the same technique we just used in lesson 1. Now we're going to take a look at the bass clef, and we'll just look at the C's. The left hand, which I mentioned last time, plays the low part of the harp, also plays middle C. This is on a little ledger line above the bass staff. You'll see that on your page. Middle C, played by the left. Low C, and if your harp goes down far enough, I'll call this one lowest C. Let's do that once again. Middle C, low C, and lowest C. Now let's take a look at the page. Let's take a close look. Middle C is sitting on this ledger line below the treble staff. High C is 3 spaces up. Highest C is sitting on the second ledger line above the staff. Let's try them all again. Middle, high, highest. Let's play the left hand notes. This middle C is also related to the bass clef. It's on a ledger line sitting above the staff, played by the left. Low C is 3 spaces down, and the lowest C is 2 little ledger lines below the staff. These are things to start looking at and get them into your eye and memorize. Let's take a look at middle C, listen to it, and play it. Now low C and lowest C. While we're here, let's look at the G's. Still in the treble clef. This treble clef also was known as the G clef. The second line up is a G, and the space directly on top of the staff is high G. So let's look for middle G. It's the one 5 steps above middle C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here it is. And high G is 1 octave or 8 notes above that. Let's play those two again. Middle G and high G. Once more. In the bass clef, we're going to look for Fs. So 2 lines down where these 2 little dots are, marking that second line down, that is F, and it's the F just below middle C. So it sounds like this. And here is low F, which is sitting below the staff in that space. Let's do those two again. Satisfying. Nice low sound. These are all the notes that we are going to call landmark notes. They're the ones we want to remember. All the C's, the G's in the treble clef, and the F's in the bass clef. And here's the summary. So let's go through the whole thing together. Let's review and do the summary. Middle C, the G above it on the second line, high C in the third space, high G above high C, and the highest C way up near the top. Those are all notes played by the right hand. And that's what you're going to get used to in this week. Where are those located? Now, for those of you who have already been reading music, this will be probably pretty easy for you to read the page. But what you could do is recognize that this is the geography of the harp, and your music that you're familiar with for perhaps another instrument like a piano applies exactly the same way to the harp. Let's do the left hand. Middle C played by the left hand. It's the same string, but it's just placed in a different spot. It's just above the bass clef on that little ledger line, C. Now we're going to go down 5 notes and we end up with F in the bass clef. That's our landmark. The low C is the third space down. Low F is sitting underneath the staff. And the lowest C 2 ledger lines below. So take a moment, put me on pause, and practice through that summary until you feel comfortable with it. I'm going to stand over your music stand here. The first line that we'll play on the next page shows all the C's that we just went through. So this is your geography lesson. Which C is that? When you find it on the harp, play it. Which C is that? That one was high C. Right, so it's this one. And which C is that? The highest one, so reach way up. Now you're going to play through the rest of the line, hopping around, looking only for C's. Let's look at the next line for a moment. This line is all only G's. There were just 2 of them, weren't there? There was middle G, so let's find that one. And there's high G. Now you're going to hop through the rest of the line. Be careful, it's not obvious. The third line down, look at this, the C's and G's are in order, so as you go through playing them, you're going to say them out loud. That's another way of helping you to remember where they are. When we come to the last line, which I will play together with you in a moment, again we're going to say the note names out loud. This time Still only C's and G's, but they're random order. Now the reason that we just learned C's and G's is right at the bottom of the page. You're going to note all these landmark notes are only a step or a skip away from every other note in the treble clef. So as long as we know these ones, they're like a signpost that helps you to know where the notes around it are. That's why it's important to keep them in your mind and memorize them. Now let's do the third line and the fourth line all together. I hope you've paused this and practiced line 1 and line 2. If you have, this will be much easier. The C's and G's in order. First, middle C, G, look at it on the page, see where it is. The idea is to say it, to play it, to look at where you are, and to look at the page. C, G, C, G, C. See how I'm looking back and forth between the page and my hand? It helps if I don't rush. Let's do the last line. If you have a good ear, you can probably memorize this and not even look at the page. But I'm suggesting you're going to strengthen your reading skills by looking at the page too. So first we start with a G. What's the next one? Right, high C. Now our favorite, the one we come home to, middle C. What's the next one? Can you remember that? It's high G. And the next one is an octave below, that second line up, middle G. Hopping back up to high G. Now high C on the third space. There's the highest one, highest C. And way back down to what? Middle C. Last one is, got it, middle G. You see, I'm still using the same technique. Now you're thinking about many more things at once. So all at once you're thinking, nice closing, relax, don't rush, enjoy. Are you still a happy beginner? Now we'll come to the bass clef, the left hand. We're still going to use finger 2, and we're going to play through all the C's. So once again, we'll start with middle C, and then low C, which is 3 spaces down, and lowest C, right at the bottom, 2 ledger lines below the staff. Now it's for you to play through the rest of them, hopping around and remembering which one's which. But you know they're all red strings, they're all C's. Once you've done that, don't forget to pause me. We'll go to the F's. There are only 2 F's. The F below middle C, which is on the line with the 2 dots, and the F in the bass, sitting in that space just under the whole staff. Now you're going to hop back and forth between them. So pause and do that next. Now let's do the last 2 lines on the page together. With the left hand, we're going to hop down from C to F. So the top note that we see is middle C. Now we descend to F, then low C, low F, and the lowest C. Squeeze, release, relax, and close your hand. At the bottom, turn around, and we'll come back up. F, low C on the 3rd space down, F, and middle C. Beautiful. Wonderful. Take your time to practice that one again, and don't forget, say the name of the note as you go. In this particular exercise, it's really helpful. Once you've practiced that, let's do the last line together. This is the C's and F's in random order, but those are the only strings you need, and you'll notice that all of them are either red or blue. The first note, do you remember what that one is? It's hard to remember. It's the low F. What's the next one? 2 lines down where the 2 dots are. This F. And then just a little below that, you see, it's just 4 notes down on the page, 4 strings down, C. This one's familiar, it's the lowest C. And then up we go back to low F. And then the lower F. And up to low C. Here's our favorite again. Middle C, down to the F, and back up to C to end. All of these are called landmark notes. In the right hand, it's C's and G's. In the left hand, C's and F's. That is your memory work. That was lesson 2. Thanks for joining me. While you practice this week, your practice points are going to be same as last time. Remember, a good hand flap, even if you're using only one finger. Keep your harp in tune. If you tune it at least once a week, that's a wonderful thing. If you take it out in the car and you change temperature and humidity, you may need to tune it again. Also, take a good look at those landmark notes. Notice where they are on the page, where they are on the harp, and get them into your memory. I will see you next week for lesson 3. And remember, do practice.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall softly on your fields. And until we meet again, until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm